Let's try that again. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Breath Podcast. No, let's try it one more time. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Breath live stream. I'm your host, Jeremy Tennell, systems instructor and coherence coach. This is week 2, day 9 of our 14-week journey entitled The Path of Personal Transformation. This week, we're exploring recognition through the lens of self-awareness. And earlier this week, we talked about honesty in seeing the patterns in our lives, naming what feels unmanageable. And yesterday, we practiced personal inventory as a tool for examining those patterns. Today, we explore graceful self-awareness. It's important to know how to relate to ourselves once we begin seeing the patterns clearly. Because recognition without compassion is self-judgment instead of growth. Growth becomes possible when we learn how to observe ourselves with honesty and grace at the same time. When people begin a journey of self-inventory, they often discover patterns they don't like. Maybe they notice emotional reactions we regret, habits that drain our energy, ways we avoid difficult conversations, behaviors that quickly create friction in our relationships. Our first instinct is often self-criticism because the way that these revelations make us feel is something we don't like. I shouldn't do this. I'm better than this. What's wrong with me? But criticism rarely leads to that transformation we're seeking. Most of the time, it leads to defensiveness and discouragement and reinforcing negative behaviors. Our egos double down to try and maintain what it sees as walls of protection. Personal growth requires honesty, but honesty must be paired with grace. A gracious self-perspective recognizes something important. Many of our patterns began as adaptive strategies to harm, fear, and difficult situations. They were ways our minds and nervous systems learned to protect us. At some point, those strategies helped us cope with stress, navigate uncertainty, avoid conflict, manage emotional discomfort. But what was once protective in the moment often becomes patterns of limiting in our lives. Recognizing that helps us approach change with understanding instead of shame. In systems thinking, we often observe that systems behave according to the conditions they were developed within. A system that adapted to survive a certain environment will continue to operate according to those patterns even after the environment changes. The system continues to operate as it was designed. There really is no such thing as a broken system. There are just systems that don't work for you. Human behavior works similarly. Our habits and reactions often formed in response to earlier experiences. They were solutions to problems we once faced. The goal of self-awareness is not to judge those adaptations in our lives. The goal is to recognize that they no longer serve the systems we are trying to become. When we approach our patterns with curiosity instead of judgment, something shifts. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" we begin asking, "What is this pattern trying to do for me? What need is it responding to in my life? Where might this behavior have oriented and originated from?" Curiosity invites learning, and learning creates the possibility of transformation. The purpose of personal inventory is not to prove we are flawed, It is to understand how our internal systems operate. When we hold that in understanding in grace for ourselves, for our behaviors, for our past, we create the psychological safety needed for change. Growth rarely happens through shame. Growth happens through awareness combined with compassion and grace. Your journaling prompt today, if you've completed the self-inventory exercise from yesterday, I want you to take a moment to reflect on what you discovered. Write about this question in your journal. What pattern did I notice? And how can I view that pattern with curiosity instead of criticism? And if you want to take that a step deeper, ask, what might this behavior have been trying to protect or support in my life that no longer serves me? These are gracious questions because instead of tearing ourselves down, they are curious and inquire about how we got here. Remember, understanding ourselves is the beginning of transforming ourselves. Okay, let's get into our breath. Why do we practice breath work? Because it helps us regulate our nervous system. Whenever we're activated, whenever we're in difficult scenarios or situations, first and foremost, to bring recognition to our breath is powerful. That moment when you're walking down the hall at work or you're walking someplace and you notice your breath, you notice the shallowness of it, you notice that there's short breaths. That's telling you something. That's telling you that your autonomic nervous system is activated. By engaging awareness with our breath and slowing our breath down, we slow down our nervous system. And by doing a second piece, combining our heart intelligence to our brain intelligence, we increase our capacity for cognitive awareness. At some point, we'll take this a step further because there's another place that holds neurons in our body, and that's our gut with 1 billion neurons. Our gut has 1 billion, our heart has 50,000, and our brain has about 1 trillion. And they're all connected through the largest nerve bundle in our body, the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is sending more signals up to the brain than the brain is sending down, which means that your whole cognitive system does not reside simply in your brain. Your whole cognitive system resides within your body, but it is out of coherence most of the time. It is not in alignment. And through breath work, through intentional awareness breath work, we can bring those cognitive centers back into alignment. So today we're going to target our heart by placing our hand on our heart. We're going to shimmy our hips back and forth, roll our shoulders back, and we're going to take 2 deep breaths and exhale with a sigh. Again. And we're going to start with a breath intake through our nose for 5 seconds. And we're going to exhale through our mouth for 5 seconds. Inhale. Exhale. And to connect with our hearts, we're going to begin an emotional inventory of gratitude or joy. Start small. Find something in your life that you're grateful for and build upon it. And continue that list as we go through this 5-minute practice. Here we go. In. Let your eyes soften. Out. Continue your gratitude. When your mind wanders, Come back to breath and gratitude on your own. Come back to your gratitude. Come back to your breath. Next breath with a big inhale. Exhale with a sigh. One more. Come back into the space. Recognize your breath throughout the day. Come back to your awareness. Be graceful with yourself. Have a great day. See you tomorrow at 5:30 a.m.